And as we look at what we're looking at in terms of what are those global practices that you're looking to make your business go beyond the local setting. However, one of the key things that I would want to kind of like present a case on is that every business, for you to try to make a case to move into the international setting, definitely the basic thing is formalization. Formalization, definitely, it's all about make your business formal. Let it be a legal entity, recognized to be able to transact trade locally and also internationally, or even within the region. So if you're not formal, it becomes very difficult for you to actually access external markets or even export opportunities, because who are you? You're trading as who? I cannot trade as Mugi. I cannot trade as Patrick. I cannot trade maybe as a Ronald or maybe Anita as an individual. No, it's a legal entity that can actually be able to come into a negotiations, kind of like a contractual obligation as a legal entity. So the truth is, entrepreneurs, if you do not distance yourself, separate yourself from your business in terms of its existence, that's why we fail to have businesses being sustainable or living beyond the founders of the businesses. So we are going to go in a strategic manner. And mine is more of like an engagement where we just want to share and argue out some of these cases moving forward. Number one, I've spoken about formalization. Number two, something that is critical, especially if you're going to look at dealing with products, tangible products, aspects of standards become one of the most crucial opportunities that every business has to understand. I'm going to be using examples to make my discussion a little bit more easy and able for you to, each one of you to appreciate. I'm going to take an example of a manufacturer who's actually producing, for example, let's say someone is producing fruits, beverages, for example. This person is going to, there are two options you can take here. Let's assume you're going to do value addition on, let's say, coffee. Let me talk about coffee because I think currently everything's all about coffee. Now, the story I'm going to give about coffee as the product that you're going to use as an example during this discussion is because I want to give you a global perspective about coffee. Now, coffee as a commodity, we know as of today, globally, Uganda is among the top 5 producing countries for coffee globally. That is very true. And in Africa, Uganda is either number 1 or number 2, one of the two. Because I think as of the last couple of months, I think we'd even overtaken Ethiopia in producing coffee. And Uganda coffee has got market access in Europe. And one of the biggest takers of Ugandan coffee is Italy. Now, I'll also be using Italy as a case study to know that if supposing you want to take your coffee to Italy, what do you need to do? What does that market require? What are the market entry conditions? How do you need to package your product? How do you need to prepare yourself? What are those do's and don'ts that you need to understand as an entrepreneur? Number one, we're talking about coffee. Coffee global value chain as we speak today is close to nearly 600 billion US dollars. Coffee, the global coffee value chain. That includes people who grow coffee like Uganda, people who package, the middlemen, the likes of Starbucks, the likes of name those big boys in the coffee space. Now, surprisingly, the countries that grow coffee, the likes of Uganda, our stake on the global value chain for coffee is not more than 50 billion US dollars. So you can imagine, we who grow coffee, who labor and task to make sure that coffee is grown, is produced, is harvested, is dried, berries are sorted, we're only having a stake of about nearly 50 billion, close to that. But an entity like Starbucks does not grow any coffee. Starbucks does not own any coffee farms. Starbucks does not have any farmers that they work with. But the current valuation of Starbucks is close to nearly $100 billion as a company. And what makes that value go that? It's the intangible assets, the likes of intellectual property, which we shall also be talking about in this discussion as one of the key things you need to consider as you navigate the foreign markets. So Starbucks has leveraged on branding, intangible assets, presenting a value to you that wherever you go, whether it's mention any airport where you're going to go, mention any top destination you're going to go, you'll never fail to interact with a Starbucks logo or brand around you. That is the power of trademarking. That is the power of intellectual property. That is the power of what we call intangible value asset base. Now, Company X in Uganda has decided to do value addition into coffee. Remember, coffee has got different value chains. You can decide, I'm going to export my raw beans. Of course, you don't expect to get so much value by exporting raw beans. Someone can decide, I'm going to roast the green beans to have roasted coffee beans. Already you've added value, because every time you add value, by the way, you increase the shelf life of a commodity, especially the agro commodities. Then you can decide, I have the green beans, I've got the roasted beans. Now I'm also deciding now I'm going to ground the coffee to have ground coffee, roasted ground coffee. That's another step towards the value addition. Then you decide again that I'm going to begin now packing this, is the ground coffee that I have. I'm going to make it instant coffee. Technology aspect comes into play here. Remember, for every value chain, there are technology needs that needs to be contemplated with. You either have this technology for you to achieve the final product, or you do not have the technology. Now, you'll be surprised. Some of the technologies that you may want to acquire, they may not be easily accessible. Why? Some of them, they could actually be protected under intellectual property. So they're termed as proprietary technologies. But technologies that are also out there that are not under proprietary, it means they are free to use. But again, you need what you call the know-how. So I can give you a technology as a coffee value addition business person. But you may find that a technology that is being used today, for example, in Germany, you and your team in-house at your factory, you do not have the capacity to understand how it works. So again, that bit of human resource as a business becomes a critical game changer. So now you've defined your products. The next thing, remember the ecosystem currently is that if you're going to go into manufacturing, for you to access the market today, you need to have your product certified. It brings in the ecosystem the likes of Uganda National Bureau of Standards. UNBS is one entity that is under my direct supervision at the Ministry of Trade, Industry and Cooperatives. So it means their mandate as a national standards agency, they are able to ensure that every product that is being produced in Uganda in a formal setting, for it to access the market, it has to be certified. When a product is certified, it brings what you call consumer confidence, and also for you to be able to know that there is safety of the product that you're producing, so you're not going to injure the public health of the citizens of Uganda. Now, product certification is also a journey. There's a lot of processes that have to be undertaken. Number one is that for you to certify that product, let's say coffee beans, roasted coffee beans, there is a particular standard that that coffee bean roasted has to comply with. That standard is specific for that product. You will never find a product which has got a standard similar to another product. So it's one standard, one product. They could share some form of specifications. They could be a little bit aligned in some way, but for every product that you're going to have certified, it's going to be attributed to one particular standard. That one I hope is noted. Now, you're definitely going to also to be able to put your house in order. There are processes that you're going to put in as a manufacturer of this coffee where you're supposed to prepare yourself and maybe have internal quality control opportunities. If you do not have that set up as a company, I'll give you a case in point. If let's say you're into one of the key parameters, basic parameters that you need to undertake, for example, if you're dealing in grains or cereals, is determining the moisture content of your raw materials. We had a very interesting scenario where we had some small and growing businesses we were working with, and they were dealing in maize processing, maize flour. These guys had never used a moisture content to determine the moisture levels of their grains before processing. I asked the gentleman, how do you tell that your grains are dry? The man was so courageous to tell me that, to me, when I pick grains and I bite them, the sound that these grains are going to make can tell me that these particular kernels are dry. You can imagine that is a very crude, traditional way of doing, but indeed it's science that has worked for him, but it's not sustainable. Supposing tomorrow he gets a jaw infection, will he ever be able to do that? He cannot. So that's why some of the simple quality infrastructure support mechanism that you as a manufacturer, someone who's into product development, you need to embrace is that particular aspect of quality infrastructure. So from that point, you're able to put these things in order. But again, documentation. Many times I ask you, do you have suppliers of your raw materials? You say yes. If I ask you, where are the documents to verify to me that who supplies you this coffee? Can you trace your suppliers? Can you trace your farmers? Because if, for example, look at currently the thing to do with the European the scheme of the EUDR, you realize that what they're saying is that if they cannot trace where your coffee is grown, if they cannot trace where your horticulture is grown, you cannot access the European market. So documentation becomes critical. Without documentation, it becomes a challenge. Now, you've put your house in order. The next thing is to engage Uganda National Bureau of Standards. The Bureau of Standards is going to come and support you from the first step to the end. What do they do essentially? They will come and do an assessment. They tell you, okay, which space are you in? I'm into coffee. They are going to come and look at the opportunities that are there in the coffee space. What do you do? What don't you do? And they identify what you call gaps. As soon as they identify these gaps, they're able to tell you, no, put this thing in order. They can come and find where you're producing from is actually, you're not upholding what you call good manufacturing practices. There are some procedures and they've got standards that really detail to you what is good manufacturing procedure depending on the subsector you're operating in. You cannot go into food processing and your people are not putting on the right protection gear, and also that is actually aligned to the standard. For example, you have to put on to cover your hair. Your hair should not be exposed when you're doing manufacturing of foods. That's why you'll find sometimes, sorry to say this, but at times you'll end up finding hair particles or maybe strains of hair in food. How do they come into food? How do they interact? And if you can imagine someone you sent your product, for example, in Europe, and they found, like, for example, like hair particles or maybe body parts within this kind of food stuff, automatically that is something that can actually destroy your business forever or your brand forever. And that's why you find even someone who's dealing in foods like, for example, grains and whatever, you must have seen on your packagings where someone says, like a disclaimer that this product may contain nuts, because there are people who are also allergic to nuts. So the moment the disclaimer is there, if a consumer finds nuts, cannot instigate a case against you because you presented it on the labeling that, oh, where I'm producing from, chances are by default, nuts might find themselves into the processing. So you have to disclaim it. So nutritional labeling and that kind of information that you put in the packaging is important. It communicates something. So when you're taken through that step, the gaps have been identified. Auditors have come to your facility. They're able to understand your gaps. They tell you where you need to improve. The onus is on you, colleagues. If you do not put in place the mechanism to prevent and address the gaps that have been identified, it's going to be very, very difficult for you to go to the next step. Then your products to be subjected to laboratory testing, either chemistry or microbiology. The whole bit is that these standards are going to be specific. They are going to define what acceptable levels of moisture content does this coffee need to comply with. Does it have, is it contaminated with maybe aflatoxins or maybe ochratoxin? These are some of the forms of biological contaminants that could be present in coffee. Are there foreign matter, stones? Are there ion filings? Are they there? These standards are going to define the limits and the delimits. So when you comply against those standards, then it means your product is actually fit. It has actually satisfied the regulators, kind of like an interest and intent for you to be traded onto the market. I hope that is clear. Now, you finished to get the certification mark. They have tested, you've complied, then they are going to give you a permit. These permits are valid for 1 year, good people. Now, 1 year might seem to be very short, but even as government, we're trying to negotiate with UNBS. Can you be able to increase the scope of this permit? Because you can imagine the tedious processes of you going through that process, and then eventually by the time you settle, you've actually done what? You're due for renewal. But also on another note, you know, sometimes Africans will tend to be very crafty, where you're going to present the best product to the auditor from UNBS. You try to fool the process, but after they've given you the permit, you start not even going as per the recommended standards, procedures, processes. You start using dirty water, unboiled water. You do not even uphold any good practices as far as good hygiene practices, good manufacturing practices are concerned. So that's why when they keep them on the short term, it's to help you to keep on track. I hope that is acceptable. Now, we're talking of Uganda standards. Those standards are standards just are meant for our local consumption. But supposing you want to go and trade your product in Kenya. Kenya has got an equivalent entity of Uganda National Bureau of Standards called Kenya Bureau of Standards. I was privileged, as I introduced myself, I told you I'm half Kenyan, half Ugandan. So my industrial training for my undergraduate, I was able to work with the Kenya Bureau of Standards for nearly 4 months. So really, it's an area that I really appreciate more, and its alignment to what UNBS does. And it's one of the prestigious national standardization organization in Africa. So what does Kenya Bureau of Standards do? It just does the same thing that UNBS does. So it means if I'm going to take my coffee from Uganda to the Kenyan market, you have to satisfy the Kenyan market, especially Kenya Bureau of Standards, that your product is fit to enter into that market. However, good news is, with the East African integration, a Ugandan business can actually do trade or transact business across all the partner states in the ESA region. So the question of standards, how do you navigate around it? We've got what we call East African Community Standards. These are standards, what we call regional standards. So it means that if, for example, we've got a regional standard, ES standards, and if you're very keen, you're going to see on some products in the market today, you see a logo written, if after UNBS has given you a Q mark, quality mark, you'll see the standard that has been used has been quoted on the product, and you're supposed to put it as a requirement for labeling. Maybe ES, US, maybe 910, 2020. So that means the ES is the East African standard, that Uganda standard has been adopted in the Uganda setting. So meaning that that particular standard, every country in the ESC recognizes it. So when they say moisture content is going to be 12%, yeah? If it's going to be 12%, it means even Tanzania Bureau of Standards, Rwanda Bureau of Standards, Burundi Bureau of Standards, Kenya Bureau of Standards, South Sudan Bureau of Standards, and maybe DRC Bureau of Standards equivalent recognizes that if they have adopted it in their local setting. So that means when your product goes to Kenya, it's the same standard that will be used to test for that product. But when you talk about harmonization, and also to be able to respect each other, kind of like a skill sets and an institutional setup. It means that if my product has been certified in Uganda, I'm taking it to Tanzania. Tanzania Bureau of Standards should not subject that product again to testing. It should actually recognize that what we call mutual recognition, that the product has been tested by a competent authority. That's Uganda National Bureau of Standards. Therefore, we don't need to do the same testing again. Let the product begin, enter the market, and you're able to trade. That's one thing. I hope that is very clear. However, that is not as simple as you might think. Standards normally present what we call technical barriers to trade, TBTs. Technical in the sense that if, for example, I said for roasted coffee, if I say my moisture in Uganda standard puts it at, let's say, 12%, and Kenya decides to put its moisture content at, for example, maybe 10%, it means you cannot enter Kenyan market if they've told you that maximum moisture content of your roasted coffee should be 10. You at 12, you cannot pass. So that's why harmonization becomes important. And these are issues that are discussed from a government to government through bilateral trade agreements. A few weeks back, we had a very good discussion, bilateral discussion between Kenya and Uganda. I was very happy because these are my two countries, mother and father, coming together to negotiate trade. Very important. Now, it means that some aspects have been harmonized. Some trade barriers have been removed. Things that maybe people say that, oh, Ugandan milk, no, we are not going to take it. Oh, Ugandan maize is going to, it has maybe aflatoxin, for example, we're not going to allow it. No. Some things have been harmonized. All those things, we as government, when we negotiate that, you as an entrepreneur, you are also protected because we are negotiating on your behalf. I hope that is very clear. Now, there are aspects of you being able to know that, so different jurisdictions are going to have different entry requirements. So colleagues, identifying a market, for example, in Europe is one thing for your horticulture, but meeting the market entry conditions is usually the hardest bit of doing business. Market entry conditions are always set up or established by governments to protect their consumers and to protect their also national interests. I'll give you a case in point. I'm going to give a case in point. Whenever we're negotiating these bilateral agreements with countries, it's like trying to negotiate a marriage. I remember when I was preparing to marry, this is a by the way, I had a go-between. And I think all of you, some of you are married, you had go-betweens. Do you know what's the role of a go-between? A go-between actually, in most cases, is not a relative of either of the party. He's not, he's a very neutral guy. But this guy has one advantage that he knows both families. So he's got to present a case. That is the role that we play between the business sector of Kenya and business sector of Uganda. So for us, we know both parties. We come in the middle and we say, let us negotiate this agreement. But the truth be told, every country has to protect its comparative advantage position. One time we were negotiating an agreement with India, as an example. We wanted to protect, to start sending ghee, exporting ghee, a shower, whatever, to India. India became a little bit hesitant to accept, to include ghee as one of the products for us to export to India. Do you know why? Two things. One of the biggest players, one of the richest families in that country is in the ghee business. This is one of the biggest people that, you know, when you are big in an economy, governments will protect your interest at all costs. So bringing Ugandan ghee to that jurisdiction was going to affect their people's market on the table. They will not accept. So there are some moments where markets are going to be protected because the governments are protecting their local interests. The other day, people, dear colleagues, you may have heard the president's position on exporting unprocessed or maybe like raw minerals. Nowadays, Uganda does not export raw minerals, unprocessed maybe minerals. Mineral beneficiation has to be taken into consideration. You either purify gold, you either purify the iron ore. If not, you cannot export them. It's a quest for us to try to build an industrial landscape which is actually going to protect our local interests. There's so much money that we earn when you add value locally. The reason why our import bill is still very, very high is because we are not exporting. But you only export if your industrial perspective is your industrial position is good enough. And that means you're calling to businesses to uphold things like standards in their processing, legalization of their businesses, corporate governance. Today, if I asked each one of you who's in this, listening to me, how many of you have got advisors or boards? All that is pegged towards corporate governance. Can the business live without you? Can your business outlive you? That is one of the key things to uphold. I'm going to talk about what we call intellectual property. Last masterclass that was shared, we sent a representative who talk you through about why you need intellectual property. I'll give you a case in point. And from intellectual property, these are intangible assets. These are all what we refer to as outputs that result out of human endeavor in terms of ingenuity and creativity. Today, you're going to develop a technology. You're going to get a patent protection for that technology, either a product or a process. Tomorrow, you're going to come up with maybe fabricate, maybe let's say a metal fabricate, kind of like a gate, for example, or a furniture, and to protect that industrial design. You're going to need a trademark that is going to be a logo or a word, a slogan that differentiates your goods and services from similar ones in the marketplace. That's why you see we've got very many brands for drinking water in the market today. We've got very many brands for alcohol beverages in the market today. Why? They're in the same business, but they're coexisting in the same market. It's the same. But when you decide to take, for example, take your, for example, if let's say I've got a logo, my company, Innovent Labs Africa, we've got a registered logo called ILA. It's registered. If tomorrow I decided I want to go and open business in Kenya and I want to use my logo, there's what we call due diligence, or what we refer to as freedom to operate. Freedom to operate is if I went with my logo ILA to Kenya as a foreign, is it going to infringe on a similar or existing kind of like a logo in that jurisdiction? If that is the case, that entity in Kenya can actually claim that I'm infringing on their trademark or logo. Now, you as a person trying to venture into foreign market, that is one of the critical aspects you really need to know to enter that market, because the cost of infringement, the cost of being sued for infringement can destroy your business in the international market. However, of course, the supporting mechanism to do that. One of the key areas that we normally do as Innovent Labs Africa, we now offer the marketplace with these 4 strategic areas of support: innovation management, intellectual property management across board, also a bit of a standards and compliance support, technical advisory, and also public sector scaling. And last but not least, looking at academia industry partnership management. So we've mastered this art that in the private sector, we offer a service that is unrivaled. We offer a service that can actually build businesses at all levels, whether you're starting, you're growing, you're scaling. We have to walk that journey with you. You as an enterprise, you may not know if you've got capability to innovate. If you do not innovate, there's chances of you generating intellectual property may not suffice. But again, this is one component you're going to attach to a product. That's why, if you've been very cognizant, the reason why China and the United States of America are always fighting economic wars, it's issues to do with intellectual property infringement. So if a country cannot protect its IP, if it cannot protect the IP of the partner state that they are working with, it's going to be a problem. Uganda, we are blessed. We've got one of the most kind of like a well-advanced legal frameworks for intellectual property, which are also implemented under Uganda Registration Services Bureau, which is under Ministry of Justice and Constitutional Affairs. So in the region, we've got very good laws. At ARIPO level, we've got very good laws. So that means at the end of the day, everything that we're trying to work around is well articulated. So intellectual property is very important. You build that intangible asset value. And that's why today, I'll ask you, God forbid, if you woke up and you found that your company where you're doing your manufacturing has been razed by fire, you wake up, you find it's all ashes. Do you think you've built enough reputation in the marketplace? Do you think you've got enough intangible asset value or worth to convince a bank to finance you to actually restart again? Ask yourself that question. If you went to that particular bank to say that, oh, my factory has been run down, can you do that? So when you hear that global value of brands, right now we've got brands that are more worth $1 trillion. You know them, you can mention them. Do you know what that means? That is the intangible worth of these companies. So meaning, even if today Coca-Cola decided, lost all its infrastructure globally, Coca-Cola has got value, intangible value, that it has built over time to actually rise up again from its ruins and reestablish itself as a powerful beverage company. That's why you find businesses that want to be competitive, to be sustainable, profitable, and grow in the international markets. They have leveraged on abiding by what standards require in those markets, intellectual property as a critical enabler, looking at strategic partnerships in terms of joint ventures and partnerships, and being able to study the market and have the right persons in the right place. When you have the right human resource, you can actually navigate that space. And that's why global practices demand that all the time you appraise yourself and know what are the new changes, what are the new requirements that now the Kenyan market wants in relation to the line that I'm trading in. If you do not educate yourself, if you do not embrace knowledge, if you do not embrace learning and continuous learning, you are going to be screwed up. So for any business to survive in the foreign markets, you need to identify and understand the legal landscape you wish to operate in. I said, every industry has got its own rules of the game to abide by. When you join associations, it's because you've got collective bargaining. You can protect your interests from a group dynamic perspective. That's what we encourage as a government, as one critical area that I'm tasked by the government of Uganda as a Commissioner for Business Development and Quality Assurances. How are we going to be able to help informal MSMEs transition to formal? That is my job. And one of the aspects that we are going to leverage on is encouraging new people who are operating informally to join cooperatives. Under the cooperative umbrella, you realize you're going to get a situation where more than one people come together with a common good, common interest, and they're able to have a legal setup at a general perspective. So cooperatives is one avenue that every government is going to embrace. Uganda government is going to embrace to help businesses transition to formality. Another thing is you're looking at getting the right skill sets for those export markets. At times, businesses negotiate poorly. When you're a poor negotiator, remember, in any business negotiation, at times you don't get what you deserve. You get what you negotiated for. If you negotiate better, your stakes are high. If you think you're going to get what you deserve, no one will give it to you. Because at times, lack of equity in these negotiations is what separates the boys from the men. So even in those foreign markets, entry points sometimes could be non-negotiable. But when you abide to the minimum requirements that they require, that can also be an entry point. And another thing is that you don't need to wait for ideal conditions, good people. You may not have all the resources to have an ideal case. You start and begin from there. And you're going, as you learn the trends, you're able to appreciate where the gaps are that need to be addressed and the kind of support advisory that you need to navigate through. So, as I conclude, what opportunities as Ministry of Trade, Industry and Cooperative do I present to you as a business to enhance the opportunities that you anticipate in the foreign markets? Right now, in the next 2-3 months, we'll be establishing an intellectual property management support help desk. To support MSMEs. You walk in, you're able to say, I want to know, what is the IP landscape like in Japan? I've got this product here. This is my trademark. Do I have a chance to survive in the Japanese market? We shall do for you what to call the freedom to operate. We shall tell you what product are you engaging in. We shall tell you what standards are required for you to navigate the Japan market. Are you aligned to them? We shall be able to offer you that. And all this, by the colleagues, is pro bono. We are not charging you because I'm paid by the government of Uganda to serve you. I'm not going to charge you. We are going to be able to have what you call business development compliance support desk. Today, you are a small business. Tomorrow, you want to grow. What are the dynamics? What are the opportunities? If I want to begin exporting, by the way, it's a form of growth. If you've been growing and trading locally in Uganda, and tomorrow you say, come on, I want to begin taking my products now in Rwanda, that is part of business development. Whether an enterprise is mature, business development at different levels never stops. It becomes one of the key assets that every business can invest in to promote continuity and sustainability. So colleagues, I do believe there's a strong case. 1 hour, I cannot tell you everything, but we'll be cooperating even with the Enterprise Uganda. We actually sit in the same table in terms of the program affiliation under NDP4, that is the Private Sector Development Program. And there's a lot we're working together to make sure that we offer the business landscape in this country an enabling environment that each one can thrive, each one can grow, each one can make a profit, each one can actually be sustainable and create employment. That's our focusing on some aspects, some legal frameworks. Right now, we want to review the National MSME Policy of 2015. We want to review the National Quality and Standardization Policy. We're developing the National BDS Policy for the country. We want to create an enabling policy landscape that each one of you has a chance to leverage on. We'll be developing the National IP Management Strategy for MSMEs, such that you as an MSME, when you say you want to export your market in Europe, how do you protect your intellectual property from the start? We want to protect your IP. I'll give you a case in point. One time, I interacted with a gentleman who deals in horticulture. This gentleman sends his horticulture to an agent in the UK. When he receives his good fruits, organic fruits from Uganda, this guy, the agent in the UK, rebrands the products to appear like it's his logo. Do you know what? How much money this man makes? He makes a hell of money. But you realize this guy, when I interacted with him, I told him, you know what? We need to have a structured kind of approach, how we are going to push you to the next level. Begin designing a strategy for your IP. If this is the direction you're going to take, how do you navigate this? How do you make it work for you? Such that at the end of the day, negotiate better. If this guy is going to be able to repackage the products you're sending to him, let him at least put you on that packaging. Let it be explicit that these goods have been grown and processed in Uganda, blah, blah, blah. Let your logo be there. People will reach out to you. It will expose you to the world, and your logo is going to gain that value that you require to grow to the next level. So all these approaches are systems you want to put in place to help you entrepreneurs feel comfortable, negotiate better, take on opportunities that you really need to make a case as you move forward. With those few remarks, I beg to submit. I'm happy for any Q&A specific to what you're talking about, and anything in that space, I'm ready to answer. Thank you, Anita. Thank you, dear audience.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Mugisha. You've done us well. And I need my coffee and my honey to reach the international markets. And so I'm going to pursue you tirelessly so that my products cross the border. So thank you, and you've done us well. Well done. Ladies and gentlemen, if I were you, I would be in the chat just giving some hand claps to Joram here, who has spared his time to take us through what we need as entrepreneurs to help our products actually cross borders. Thank you so much, Joram. That was very informative, very insightful, and thought-provoking. And so you realize that as entrepreneurs, it's very possible that we operate below, the standard, which is not good. And I like the efforts of government, of course, Ministry of Trade in partnership with all these Enterprise Uganda, of ZEPA coming in to educate entrepreneurs on how best they can tap into international markets. And so thank you so much. We are going into a session for Q&A. Some of the things that Mugisha has ably highlighted and emphasized is the issue of formalization. And yes, he has also talked about standardization. Let's go ahead and get our products standardized. Wow, there's just quite a lot that that happens for a product to cross borders. Yes, we're waiting for the questions so that Joram here can address them. So please, in case you have any questions, please feel free. Thank you so much again, Joram, for talking about intellectual property. I like the fact that you've put a support desk at the ministry for us to tap into that opportunity. Yeah, I'm just thinking about my logos and my brand, and that's something I need to explore if I'm to tap into these markets. Chitibwa, your hand is up, and so I'm going to ask you to unmute so that you ask your question. Yes, Chitibwa, please come in and ask your question.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Yes, good morning, Charles.
How are you today?
Thank you.
I would like to thank Mr. Patrick for the wonderful message as really given to us. I'm really so happy for the wonderful message. Really, it has really touched me actually. I was even asking myself, where will I be putting all over my products of Chow Company Limited? How will I be able to extend my businesses to other countries? Because I only have one country, that is China and Uganda. That is only one, because I stay in Uganda and I do only transport them to China. But what you have really taught us, it has really made me to understand that I can do the best in other countries.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Mr. Patrick, for that really wonderful message. It has really attached to my heart, and I will be able to extend my business. Thank you so much.
You're welcome, sir.
Okay, thank you so much, Charles. I think that was an appreciation message. Mary in the chat says, how can I formalize my logo? We have changed it, but the business is registered. Thanks for the earlier submission.
Yeah. So Mary, that is possible. It's possible because normally what happens that there are two things. You can have your business registered, but your logo is not registered. Now, your business name, I don't know, what's the name of your business? Okay, what's the name of your business, registered business? Can you type, maybe can help me?
Yes, Mary, if you can type in the chat,
Mary.
What's the name of your business? Okay, I think she's still.
Okay, it's called Sabaoth Properties Limited. Very good. So now you realize Sabaoth Properties Limited, in itself as it is, it cannot qualify to be a trademark. And I believe Sabaoth Properties Limited, you've got a logo. Now you've said that you changed your logo. Now, if you hadn't, the first logo that you had, if you had not registered it as a trademark, you see, a registered trademark will always have that icon of an R in a circle. Yeah? An R in a circle. So if you do not have it, then it does not what? It does not it does not suffice. So if it's not there, then you're not actually going to be able to have it registered. So when you're pursuing registration of the mark, it means you're going to go the due processes. And normally this is what happens. You design the logo. Then you submit a search request to URSB to search. The search is mainly meant to know that there's no any other existing logo of that nature. And in what class of goods and services do you want to protect that logo? They are going to define it because each mark or logo is going to be attributed to one class of goods or services, not two. If you extend to another one, you also pay independently. So that's the challenge, but at least for each logo, one class of goods and services, but the same logo, you can extend it depending on what you're doing. Because if, for example, I'm producing, let's say, I'm into cosmetics, and I'm producing hair relaxer, I'm producing maybe a beard relaxer, I'm producing maybe a massage oil. So those are different products, but they fall under either different categories. So you can actually align the logo under the same classes of goods, depending on the entity you're operating in. So you need to register that. And I think we're happy really to give you more advice on how to navigate around that. So it's okay. We shall be able to catch up on this and help you that, yeah.
Thank you there, Igomeri. You can reach out to Patrick and he will be able to guide. Patrick, I think I'll ask you to just
actually,
the chat.
Actually, Anita, one of the key things maybe just to
Yes.
give the entrepreneurs a soft landing. I'll be coming to, there's a potential partnership in the cooking between Innovent Labs Africa and Enterprise Uganda to actually establish this desk, a support desk on innovation and IP at Enterprise Uganda in your new home. So actually we'll be having a desk. So people will be coming in and Anita will be, I think, the one who's saying who's coming, who's not coming in. So the moment you come, so I'll be coming there, sit there and tell you that I'm there from this period. We'll have a support desk there on site, such that all these issues will be running them from there. And I think in the future, even having these physical engagements is going to be very important for these guys to actually come there and have them on board. We share a cup of tea. You bring the coffee you produce, you drink it, and you share. If it's good, you tell it's bad. You improve, we go ahead, okay? Thank you. Next one.
Thank you so much, Patrick. And I'm really excited about that. And again, ladies and gentlemen, we are here in Butavika, just slightly ahead of the hospital. Please do come and visit. And I can tell you that this desk was needed yesterday, and we shall make sure that it is up soon and the communication will go out. Yes, there is Enoch's hand, which is up. Enoch, please unmute and ask your question. Enoch?
Thank you very much. I hope you can hear me.
Yes, Enoch, I
Yes,
can hear
loud
you.
and clear.
Yeah, thank you very much. Joined India about 15 minutes late because I had to really miss my class. I work with the Mbara University of Science and Technology. I'm a lecturer. And I saw this was shared with me by Gidudu Andrew. I thank him very much. When I saw the whole thing, I was very interested. I said, no, I must sacrifice my class for this. And I think I cannot regret for having done that. Thanks to the presenter really touched everything. Me, I'm more into area, into mob service, medical training, and particularly also laboratory testing, and how can hit the international market. Now, the key I listened, yes, more your example was from more of the products, but still there's a lot that I learned from it. Above all, I think you really nailed it by saying start from where you were and continue improving. I think that was the biggest take home. It may not necessarily be a question, but it was the biggest take home because at times you figure out, where do I start from? You think, and I have a colleague who is into manufacturing of diagnostic kits, and I did what you have just answered the last question, where you said, for example, bring coffee and I shall tell you. In fact, this comrade, what he has done is that he has given us these kits, members use them. He's even giving us money to compare them with others and telling me where the problems are. And I think I just loved your expertise in the area that you have shared with us. And I just say, really, God should continue using you so that we can really change our environment. We are losing a lot. We are giving money out. We are giving jobs out by the fact that we are not improving the value, we are not changing the value, we are not adding value to what we are doing. And indeed, this is where the jobs lie. Thank you very much. This has really touched me. I don't regret really for having attended. Thanks very much, Enterprise Uganda, for all what you have done. I'm sincerely grateful.
Thank you so much,
Welcome,
Enoch.
Mr. Enoch.
Yeah, thank you so much, Enoch. And I can assure you that Enterprise Uganda will soon come to Mbara University. By the way, Enterprise Uganda can come where you are for as long as you put business people together. An invitation is all that we need, whether you're in a university, whether you want us to talk to your people in the organization, in your company, at your factory. This information is readily available. We shall bring Patrick Innovation Lab to talk to you. Yes, we are inviting you to Butarika, but we can bring Butarika to you or to Enterprise Uganda to you. And so please do reach out. Patrick is asking you to punch your numbers in the chat so that people can reach out in case they need services for Innovation Lab or they want to come visit Ministry of Trade. In the meantime, you have, yes, you can just punch it in the chat. Yes, people are thanking you here in the chat, and then Julius has 2 questions for you. The first one, he says, what do you advise cottage agri-processors who don't have a full factory but want to get UNBS and export? The second one is it possible for them to get UNBS mark but under a bigger established factory that has all the processes and quality standards? E.g., if I process my maize into flour at Maganjo factory, can UNBS give me the QMark? Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know. The questions are there. Just, yeah.
No, that's a good question. Normally, what would happen? What I would advise the gentleman is to. You've mentioned Maganjo. I would imagine you are working closely with Maganjo if that's the case. But if not that, if that's not the case, you could potentially go into like an incubator setup. Because an incubator setup, you're going to also, because like Maganjo may not host you, for example, because you're going to be competing, for example. But if you enter an incubator, for example, like a Uganda Research Institute, and you're able to have maybe a case discussion where they can incubate you, because the entire system, the pilot systems there are all certified by UNBS. So meaning every product that you produce as an entrepreneur, it just has that certification. You kind of, you leverage on the certification on the system that has been certified, under URI by UNBS. So even your product can actually get the Q mark. So the analysis that they are going to actually kind of do for you to get certification, they are going to use the URI setup, but your product has got an individual Q mark and it's going to be put in the names of your company. So as you grow, you're able to also build a case. Yeah. But please come, we discuss more on that. And then you tell me more, where are you? Because you could find it to be a case of just strengthening where you are. You can call it, because you can be operating even in a cottage, even in your own bedroom. But I just come and tell you, no, now you put this and this in place, such that we are able to appreciate and support you in your humble beginnings, and you build a case. Because the moment your product is in the market, you expect it to make money. And then you can build other systems in place. Are we together? Yeah, I hope that helps. But let's have a more discussion. Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah. The production in the bedroom.
Yeah.
Okay. So I think, yeah, you meant maybe the living room.
No, as in people can
Okay,
actually
thank you
make.
so much, Patrick.
No, as in what I meant actually is that you've seen people starting their businesses in their garage. Even by the way, there are people even who produce. The reason they're producing a bedroom, they don't want to be arrested by UNBS, because an auditor of UNBS cannot come to your room. That is he's infringing on your privacy. But you produce your cocoa, your coffee there, will never come there. People have to be smart. But the thing is this: don't wait for ideal conditions. You start. If we get you as a regulator, we stock and we advise you. But tomorrow I'm going to ask you, you come to me, the Department for Business Development and Quality Assurance. For you can report yourself to me and you say, I'm doing this, I will protect you, because I know we are trying to transition from the informal to the formal space. I will protect you, I have your back. Hey, I'm your big brother now. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm very happy to have you as our big brother in this, in this space. We really need it. Cottage industries, micro, small, medium enterprises. Again, Mr. Mugisha shared his contacts in there. Please get in touch, reach out. And also, you have the responsibility to share this information with other entrepreneurs out there.
Yeah.
We want to develop Uganda together. And so when you succeed as entrepreneurs, we want even other entrepreneurs to succeed. So with that said, I see the questions have stopped coming in, but I know
Bruce
you'll get
Ogola.
many more. Yes. Oh,
maybe
Bruce
I can have that last one before we close off.
Yes. Bruce, please unmute, Bruce.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Patrick. Yes, it is that Bruce Ogola you're thinking about. I wanted to ask, there's something that keeps on confusing me in terms of registration.
Yes.
I'm in IT and I'm in also design. And sometimes you get a client who tells you that they want a logo.
Yes.
That is, that can be done that can be licensable. Yes. Now I wanted to know the difference between the types of logos, and then in the tech space, are you guys also there, or you're just in products and services?
We are there. We are everywhere.
Okay, so I wanted to know the difference between two logos, because most of the times we are doing for people design, but you find that most of the times these logos are not even being registered. So you find one logo here, someone goes and copies it and is using it somewhere else. So
exactly,
how do you guys come?
I know exactly, and the reason why, you can't blame them, because majority of them have not leveraged on the power of intellectual property. Now for you, Bruce, and actually, you guys who are into the design space, I'm coming to you. All this ecosystem around NASA Road and whatever, I have a very good message for you. You see, for me as a lead for business development, I'm supposed to support everyone in that space to actually do what? Grow their business. So there's something I'm going to engage me. There's something I want to help you on, such that next time, don't just be getting little money. You can actually now begin charging competitive prices. and it's live or take. Engage me, we shall talk more, Bruce.
Bruce, there you go. You're already in things. Yes. So, ladies and gentlemen, Derek, please, if you're there, kindly share the WhatsApp link for Enterprise Uganda in the chat so that people can join in. Join the Enterprise Uganda WhatsApp group so that they don't miss out on such important sessions. Patrick, I'm going to invite you to give your parting shots. Help us end this conversation. Top notch, yeah.
Well, Anita, first, thank you so much for giving me an opportunity. And I want to thank the audience who are either my brothers or sisters. Some of them, if they're older than me, let me call them uncles. But I think at the end of the day, we are going to work together. I'm there for you. I have your interest both in the public sector and in the private sector. See, because there's no way I can be a commissioner for business development and I do not run a business. So which business development will I be telling people about? So that's why even for you, who's, for example, maybe let's say a lecturer, you cannot tell people that, and that's where we have a problem, especially with academia, is that a lecturer gives you very difficult things, difficult courseworks, but you never see where is the business case that this lecturer, can he, if he's teaching me agronomy, does he own a farm? If he's teaching me engineering, does he own even like maybe an engineering lab or something like that? So we want to be very practical. But again, as I said, what you're pushing for to actually establish that a partnership between Innovent Labs Africa and Enterprise Uganda is going to be a game changer. It's going to be timely, and you're going to be walking in at Enterprise Uganda in Butawika, and you're given a 360 kind of like support across board. So this is where we really want you, because when your business grows, it's sustained and it can be scaled. That is the joy that you want as policymakers. With that, God bless you and keep well, and just keep thinking and creating. God bless you.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Patrick. Ladies and gentlemen, please go to the chat. Just give